Welcome to the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite makes the process of becoming a published, best-selling author as simple as sipping your morning cup of coffee. You can learn more about Authors Unite at authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today, I have Richard Davis with us. He has over 30 years experience in talent and performance management. He is currently the Chief People Officer for SIB Fixed Cost Reduction in Charleston, South Carolina, and he has a passion for bringing out the best in a team. So welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much, Tyler.
Of course, grateful to have you here. We'll jump into the first one, Richard. The first one I have for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Well, of course, aside from being a dad and a husband, probably a couple of different lessons from my dad, who I'll just say emotionally, he just passed away in June, so the lessons are even more important. But he always taught us as kids to always do your best. We had a family business, so it was always treat customers like they were doing you a favor by doing business with you. Always return something better than when you borrowed it, and you always try to exceed the expectations that others have placed on you. So those are some lessons I was taught early on that have had a huge impact on how I work and who I am.
Thank you for sharing that with us. The next one I have for you is, what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
So since I'm a talent performance management, it's all about people. And there are three things that I use whenever I do a conference session or any type of training seminar. And that's that, number one, that everyone has worth and value, even those that you have a hard time liking, that everyone has the right to be treated with respect and dignity, and that everyone has the potential to do great things.
And what's your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
It's a mantra that I've kind of lived with different areas of business, and it's always expect the best, but be prepared for the worst.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Well, of course, I have to say to do better in school and take advantage of education. I think everyone probably says that, or most people might anyway. But from a business standpoint, it's pursue a passion first and a paycheck second. Because what good are financial gains if you aren't happy?
Yes, man, I could not agree more. That which perfectly leads into our next one. So, in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
Well, for me, it's number one is to be surrounded by people you love and who love you and care about you. You want to be surrounded by a whole bunch of 3 a.m. friends, meaning those people that at 3 a.m., if you needed them, they would be there in a second. To have a reason to get up in the morning. And lastly, is one thing I've learned as I've gotten older is just health.
And what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
Well, of course, aside from scripture, which provides a lot of positive affirmations, it would be an old book that I read back in the 1980s called The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. At that time, it was very groundbreaking. And I still remember the phrase that you should praise in public and correct in private. Some think that that's necessarily the wrong thing to think now because it keeps us from being held accountable by a team. But I still disagree that it's best to correct someone's behavior and performance in an individual setting where you can have more of an impact. But the 1 Minute Manager was the one that probably had the biggest influence on how I manage people.
And what is your favorite quote and why?
I hope you don't mind. I'll give two.
Oh, no, go for it.
One is, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's by Teddy Roosevelt. And the other one was by a guy, Zig Ziglar, who passed away last year, where he says you can get everything in life you want by helping others get what they want.
Yes, I love that one. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. The last one I have for you before we let you go is, where is the best place for people to find and connect with you online?
Well, I give you three. Of course, our company website is aboutsib.com. My email is richard@aboutsib.com. And I am not as active as some, but I do have a Twitter account, which is Pipability, and that's PIP Ability. the PIPP and peak individual performance.
Perfect, man. Thanks again for jumping on.
Thanks, Tyler.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.